Hey guys, got another build, and this one is something, so just watch, right? We're gonna do a little bit of Dark Souls at the beginning, and then we're gonna do a little bit of Path of Exile. So we're gonna bonk him with our staff. No, not the staff, wrong build, with our mace. Just bonking, you know. Doing a little bit of bonking. Still bonking. And now this is the build. Basically, you know, we're a stun build, and we do this if we have to. In maps, we don't have to. In maps, it looks even cooler. I mean, it's not like the best character at clear, but it is visually spectacular, and it is melee, maces, so you know, it's like all red and stuff. So I'll show you how it looks. Let me just quickly deposit all the stuff. Put these in here.
What is it? Choose what you need. A useful trade.
Aspects of gameplay. Alright, let's see what do we got. Let's run a map. So obviously you don't really want to run maps that have stun threshold, because we are a stun based build even in maps, and let's see how it goes. Let's run this one. It's got a bunch of stuff. Woodland isn't too bad. The layout, I mean. So basically, what you wanna do is just hit them with your stuff. We got a Leap Slam, and we got Stampede. Both movement abilities, but even so, you know, we don't have that much attack speed, so we're pretty slow. But it might not look like super crazy right now, but once you get your endurance charges going, which doesn't take long, just a couple of packs, because we have a bunch of chance to generate extra. I'll show you the tech. Once we have our endurance charges, then I missed. Then you start blowing stuff up. The more mobs, the better, because the easier, well, the more guaranteed your charges are. Even though we do have a good amount from the... Okay, so Abyss, this is where the build sort of shines, because Abyss always has a lot of mobs, so we always have endurance charges. And now we're just basically leap slamming. Yet again, for me, the build is 0 FPS, but you know, it's still fun to imagine how it would look like if you actually had any FPS. And no, you're just jumping around. Ooh, a wisp. The biggest problem with this build is mana, and when there's no mobs, if there's like a single tough rare, I mean, you can use the hammer technically, but you also have to build it up. That's why I still have Perfect Strike. I don't get to use it often. I'll pick the stuff up later. I don't get to use it often, but there's some times, for example here, I might need to use it. I did not. But right now I'm out of charges, so the first hit will be very weak. And now once we do have charges and mana, we can start slamming the charges again. But I don't wanna tell you guys like what the build is just yet. But it's pretty cool. But I guess if you clicked on this, so you know what the build is about. But I'll explain the interaction and how it works, because there's quite a bit of stuff that this build actually does to make it feel a little bit better. Because I was playing around, I went through the whole campaign. Well, I didn't level with this during the campaign. When I was in the interludes, I started playing the mace, and I quickly realized that there needs to be some stuff, you know, figured out before it can feel good, or at least as good as it can feel. And I actually found a pretty cool way to bypass some of the endurance, well, charge limitations that the game has. Alright, so let's get into the gems. Now let's get into the items, I guess, so it totally makes sense. So we're playing Nebuloch. Why? Well, I wanted to make a build around Nebuloch. And the cool thing about Nebuloch is that it guarantees a crit. And maces have very big multipliers. The only issue is you're playing Nebuloch, you have no flat. How do we fix that? We're playing Ritualist. If you're playing Ritualist, you have 3 ring slots. So get as much flat on rings as possible. Any type, doesn't matter. Preferably not physical or chaos. Wrong game, can get chaos in Path of Exile 2. Not physical, preferably. Any of the elemental, because it just rolls high, right? So get as much as you can, and also ingenuity adds a bunch as well. It's not exactly mandatory to have ingenuity, but it is nice. You know, it's like a half a ring just from the belt, so it's pretty cool. Although it is technically diminishing returns because we have well, Ritualist Ascendancy gives 25% as is, so it technically isn't the best option probably. But like this is the only, I think, belt that like gives damage to us at the very least. So I'm using this. If you want, you can use something else, but this is probably gonna be like the best option for a lot of things, and also it helps us with resistances as well. Our rings give us a lot of resistances. So Chernobog is also something that you should be aiming for. For single target, well, I mean, it's still good. That I think I have 39% block right now on single target tree, so it's still something. But we're also getting a bunch of as extra from things like you know, the runes. Oh, actually, I have 2 Nebulochs. This is the clear one. There's a bunch of stuff to go around to go through, so I'll explain it little by little, I guess. So anyway, Chernobog is good. Just for mapping, it's great. For bossing, it's likely that there could be some better option for offhand, Sacred Flame even, but you know, Shield is nice. Maybe there's also something else, but anyway, Chernobog is very solid. So you get Chernobog. If you think of something else, use something else. I don't know. But if you want damage, Chernobog is likely going to be one of the better options. There's also talismans, Ox talismans for Chernobog, but they are very expensive, so I don't have them. But if you want to push this further, get those. Alright, so the rune that lets us generate an endurance charge, generally 1 should be enough. In the early game, you can potentially get 2, so it feels less bad. But you need at least 1 for your mapping setup. For your bossing setup, you want just damage. Ideally, grab a Nebuloch that has 2 sockets. There were 10 on the market, and I managed to corrupt on my first try for a 3rd socket, and we got this. Just get all the damage as extra in there, because you know it's 15% as extra in each of them. It's very solid. It's basically just another Chernobog on without, you know, having you to scale block at all. So it's very solid. Get that. But for your mapping setup, get one of these. As for the rest, you know, melee and flat on gloves. You do need to invest into defenses when you're playing melee for the mapping setup at the very least. So, you know, armor applies to elemental. It's still pretty solid. It's not as bad as people say it is. You just need a bunch of armor and a bunch of it as well. But, you know, just grab some armor. Do get some life regen, ideal on body, because that's the highest roll that you can get. And life, you know, well, just make sure your body armor is solid, I guess, but have life regen on there. I do have a bunch of life regen on helmet as well. It helps out a little bit, because we do need to combat the 100 chaos damage taken per second per endurance charge a little bit. Luckily, Ritualist actually combats this pretty well, because you get increased regen when you're on lower life. But generally, you shouldn't be low on life. Like, you're either expending, and there's a bunch of other things that are happening with the endurance charge as well. So these are the items. I do recommend Silver Charm, and of course Thawing Charm. This one, I don't think it gets used very often. You just get something else. So anyway, these are the items. Hope. Oh, and Beacon of Aziz, I corrupted this one. You don't have to corrupt it. I just wanted to get like something extra, another implicit, but I didn't. Throat Seeker, probably the best tonight. 60 crit molt, and we don't care about crit chance, so anoint that. Now for the Ascendancy, so obviously we're going for the rings. This is what helps us a little bit with region, not too much though, but you know, it's still something. Blood Boil is actually very solid. Helps us with clear, especially against Abyss. Like the corrupted blood is just permanently on everyone at max stacks. So, you know, there's really nothing else to get. You could get this if your belt doesn't have 2 charm slots. I mean 3 charm slots, but that's about it. This is not great. And this is also not great. Still needs to be buffed, I think. Anyway, for the tree, so the tree is let's go over the boss. No, let's go over the mapping tree first. So while mapping, well, I need one more level. I was going for this. You don't really need it for mapping. This is stun build up, so you can grab that. Potentially, you can also just grab these or extra armor over here. All very solid choices. Helps with mapping. Probably this if you want to be a little bit tankier, because these realistically they don't do that much. But I was too lazy to respec. Like I respec this tree a million times to get it where it is, so it can one-shot Xesht. But this is where we're at. Do grab this this Jewel, Heart of the Well. Get some damages extra and armor from body armor. The rest is, you know, if you can find some good mods, get them. Life on kill is very nice. We do have a bunch from elsewhere as well, but you know, if you can get something similar. This is very nice. Just a little bit of extra damage. You know, 40 ink. It's very solid for 4 nodes, and also, you know, well, 50 I guess. This gives us 10 more, and this increases Chernobog. If you don't have Chernobog, you don't really need to take this, but you kind of want block while mapping. And this, you know, you grab a bunch of AoE, you grab a bunch of armor, and during charges, I was using this initially without the rune for 50% as extra. You could potentially actually just drop this now that I think about it. We don't need the maximum charges. And I grabbed this early on. This helps a little bit. But now I probably don't even need it, so I should probably switch it, but you know, whatever. Grab the crit, grab this. I have a time loss jewel in here. I do recommend Warcry speed, so you can pop both the Warcries. And since some bosses have lower stun durations, especially in maps, you kind of combat that. Alternatively, you can grab these 3 nodes, but I figured might as well just use the timeless jewel in here. And I also opted out for a little bit more armor because I was dying a little bit in earlier. Right now, it's pretty good. So the increased effect, not mandatory, but I guess it does give us a little bit of crit damage bonus. But, you know, if you can look for something else, this is not great. There's a bunch of... I mean, on the AoE tree, we're basically prioritizing AoE. On the mapping tree, we're prioritizing AoE, so we're grabbing, you know, these. Crit is on both trees, obviously. This is mandatory for melee builds, pretty much. For armor melee builds, at least. So get this for sure. Stun build up, and during charge when you heavy stun. Another jewel socket in here. Mana on kill, because we are struggling with mana. If you can, get some life on kill, but overall I prioritize damage. Crit damage bonus should be your second priority. Well, maybe first priority. Mana on kill is your second. Well, actually, they're both high priority, so you get a jewel that's similar to this. And yeah, that's about it. You know, just grab a bunch of AoE, bunch of crit, stun build up. This is very nice. Now for the single target tree, we're basically dropping the AoE nodes, and we're investing into... I also dropped a little bit of armor from the mapping tree, because you don't really need it. Like, you just dodge a little bit and then you just kill them. If you get hit, you can just mash the pot a couple times and, you know, bonk him a couple times and you should be good. For the single target tree, you do want a little bit of attack speed because we're building up stun with our basic attacks. So these are very solid nodes. Since our Hammer of the Gods is always empowered after using a Seismic Cry, these are very solid nodes. And also these are also, you know, very solid nodes. The on heavy stunning or rare unique, your next attack will be insertional boosted is irrelevant, but 30% increased damage. These nodes are just very solid in general, so grab these for sure. This is 20 more damage against stunned enemies. This is also why we need a little bit of Warcry speed, so we can actually land the hammer. And of course these stay, because they're also against immobilized. This is also a very solid node, potentially, you know, path towards here now. I'm just grabbing these, because these are also very solid nodes, and Intimidate is also something that helps us, because those 4 seconds are all we need for our hammer to deal damage. So I grab this because this is basically 10% more damage on top of everything. So with 1 level, I'm grabbing this on my bossing tree, and other than that, you know, you can drop the AoE nodes from here. This is very solid because stun buildup. You do need stun buildup. Oh, and one more thing for the AoE tree is that this node, like this wheel, 2, 4, 7% each time we consume an endurance charge, and we're consuming every single attack. So we're recovering at least 7% every single attack. Now, the special interaction that I found out, the super secret interaction, that's what I'm gonna be calling this this video, is that when you're, I'll explain it like this. When you're using an ability, the game is hard-coded to only give 1 endurance charge guaranteed. You can get more from additional sources and you know, things like this, 50% chance, as well as this, I'm pretty sure is counted as a different one. So you can potentially get 3. But if you're using just Leap Slam, you can only get 1. But for some reason, the fissures, not only they can generate charge themselves if they stun a target, I'll tell you why soon, but you probably have an idea, but also they can consume charges. These are, every time I stamp into them, each of these can consume and generate a charge. So in maps, you know, generally just Leap Slamming if you have endurance charges, since we have a bunch of crit molt, they just die. But with this, you can just stun them and generate more charges, and this is basically the cycle. You you know, you proc the fissures stun, generate a charge for you, hopefully, or even, you know, the Leap Slam itself stuns, and that's how you sort of generate and expend charges. Now, we're generating charges with the new Spore Gem, this one, Enduring Impact, right? On Leap Slam, do get just a bunch of damage, because I think, if I am not mistaken, the fissures are affected by the mods that are on the gem, even though they're scaling off of our like basic attacks. But, well, not I think, I know, because the fissures themselves can generate charges, I confirm this. So they are affected by these mods. On my Stampede, I have just Rage Regen. Also, this helps a little bit, so it's a little bit faster. And the more stun buildup, this also fissures as well, and these fissures generate rage for us as well. So ideally, how you want to play this is, if you can, of course, is run in with the Stampede, and then just Leap Slam at the end of some fissure, so they connect, and you can just do it. And the very last one will be able to generate rage for you. If you're getting hit, I mean, you know, we don't have any inherent loss delay, so rage uptime is not the best, but it's there against like Abyss when it matters, right? For the Leap Slam, so you don't need stun buildup on it, since it always crits pretty much. Like ideally you generate charges with Stampede, and then just once the Leap Slam starts critting, it will generate charges by itself as well, or the fissures. We got the Herald of Ash, helps us with clear, along with our Blood Boil. Blood Boil just get all the damage things, skill effect duration, physical, and increased AoE. For Herald of Ash, I got damage and AoE and skill effect duration. Now for overwhelming presence, it's actually, well, you should be running overwhelming presence. I got cannibalism, like I've said, you know, you do want this. Ideally, get 2% more from somewhere, maybe the jewel, if you can afford it, right? And vitality also, a little bit of regen, doesn't hurt anybody. Since we do need to have some regen, I have 137 right now. As we're going lower, we have more regen, but 137 is enough to sustain 5 charges, since we have capped chaos res. So even if I'm at 5 charges, I'm on full life. Time of need, less skill effect duration, and increased accuracy. I do see myself missing a little bit, so grab this for sure. If you have the spirit, well, you should have the spirit if you have it, because I don't have anything invested. You don't need the extra 6 that I rolled from corrupting. You don't need it. You're gonna have enough. So get the precision. So you don't need to invest into any accuracy on the tree. We're using Infernal Cry because it gives us 58% as extra on fire. Well, it doesn't really matter for us what damage type it is because we're ignoring with Aziz. Beacon of Aziz, I don't know. And you know, just a good amount of damage. I don't really use it while mapping. You can if you want to, but you don't really need to. Seismic Eye, make sure that well, Seismic Eye gives us an aftershock guaranteed, and I also have Enduring Impact 1 just in case I need to use Perfect Strike, and you know, I just make it crit if I need to. If I need to, you know, get the last 5% of HP. For Hammer of the Gods, I have Fist of War 3, close combat. So when you use your hammer, make sure you run up to the boss. He shouldn't be too far away, but still. Overextend, since we have a lot of crit multi, this is very solid. Concentrated area, because we're only using it against bosses, and Hourglass, because we only really need to use it once. So for the Maze Strike, as you can see, I got 2 Maze Strikes. The other one is the mapping one. I don't use it. I mean, it doesn't matter. Just have one for your boss tree. And in here you want stun, attack speed. This is more attack speed and rage, which also, well, damage is stun, so damage, you know. More stun. This is mandatory. You always want to use your Seismic Cry to stun. So it generates as a charge and, you know, grants us an aftershock. And also close combat, because we're, you know, we don't have any reach, so this is 30% more damage, which in turn makes us stun faster. What else did I miss? Nothing. I don't think I missed anything. Oh, weapon sets, I guess. So Maze Strike with damage is on your Nebuloch for bossing, right? Ideally have 2 Nebulochs. You don't have to, but you can get 2. They're not expensive. What, you know, like I said, one would just for the boss, and the other one is this. If you don't care about doing any pinnacles, you don't need this much damage, because I'm dealing like what, 13 million damage per Hammer of the Gods. You're not reaching those numbers unless you're in party play for HP on bosses in maps, so you don't need it, right? Hammer of the Gods on weapon 1. For me, you know, weapon 1 is the bossing one. Leap Slam is on weapon 2. The clear one with the charge generation, make sure. Can't stress enough how good the charge generation is for sustaining it. You can also use 2, but 1 for me is enough. If you want, you can use another one. Seismic Cry and Infernal Cry, they're both on weapon 1. This is because if you accidentally, you know, switch your weapons, you will lose the empowerment, so don't do that. Zabade, weapon 2, of course. Well, these have to be on both. So basically, oh, and Perfect Strike as well. But for Perfect Strike, I just have a bunch of stuff. This is good for sustaining endurance charges against single targets when you need it. So get this and then just damage. But Perfect Strike is also on weapon 1. And there you have it, guys. I really enjoyed this build. It was much more fun to play than I initially thought it would be, and as you can see, anything can work in Path of Exile 2 already, pretty much, mostly, I guess. You just have to put your mind to it. And yep, that is it for today. I know we'll be cooking something else soon enough. I just need to think of something. But anyway, play what you want, play what you like, and you know, have fun. Most importantly, that's all that matters. Yep, that is it for today, and I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.